Hi, everybody. It's Friday evening or afternoon, late afternoon. Um, I just had a snack. I'm going to go over to Fred Meyer's, get some bananas. I'm out of bananas. Um, a quick run in, run out. But I wanted to, while I'm sitting here, relaxing a little bit because traffic's getting heavy. It's a little after 5. Was When I was sitting here, it was kind of interesting because what popped in my mind um, about something that happened in 2020 that it kind of slipped my mind, but there's two things that happened. Okay, and it was around summertime because I drove out to Lacombe part out by Larwood and stuff because that's where I was raised, grew up and stuff out in the boonies just underneath Snow Peak Hill, just down below it. And there's a swimming hole out there. So I went out there. One of my pups had died. I had two barnyard terriers, a male and a female. The female, she had heart problems, and so she ended up passing away in 2017. So I still had Peanut. I had Peanut until actually Peanut stayed with me until the day that I went that God brought me up, and that was October 19th, 2020. That's how come I'll never forget any of this. That's where I had it was pretty much saying in that vision to where I was going to those two rooms. So three of my friends ran and hid, or pretty much hid from God at that moment. And I'm like, come on, let's go. It was so interesting because they were such a fear of God, and I didn't have any sense of fear. I was excited. I remember when Michael was coming towards me with the book open, oh, I go, first thing I said to him, I didn't even say hi, Michael, or anything. I was just like, does God want to talk to me? And he said, yes. I said, what about? And then Gabriel goes, oh, I'll show him. And flies over and starts putting up all these messages. But what I want to talk to you about is after I had it was right before, actually, it had to be right before or after the vision that I had when I woke up in the bathtub. But anyway, so we were coming back home um, from out there in Larwood, coming back home into Albany. And there's like this, what is it called? Um, I can't even figure out the name of it. Anyway, so we're traveling back home and we're still out by the countryside. And the sun is like this bright, and something flying over. You know how a bird flies over and you got that shadow that flies over? Well, or a plane when a plane goes over. So we're cruising down and I'm rocking out, my male pup, he's with me and he's sitting laying in the back. And all of a sudden, as I'm I'm getting close to a curve of turning, right? And I'm all rocking out, and all of a sudden I see something block the sun like a big wing. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, is there a plane? That's pretty close, because it kind of freaked me out because I was like, oh, what was that? And then next thing you know, the back of my truck, there was like this thump. And I'm traveling like 55 miles an hour, and I feel this thump right after I see it. My dog comes running up, gets on the center console, and then jumps in my lap, and he's just shaking. And I'm like, oh, dude, I felt that too. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror to see if I can see anything, but I can't see anything. And I slowed down driving really fast, and I'm like looking back, trying to turn around and look. And I don't see anything, right? So I'm like, tried to put my dog who's shaking. I'm just like, okay, I don't see anything. It's okay. Get back there. He refused. He did not want to go. He stayed put in my lap. He was shaking so bad. So I pulled up. I went a little farther up to a turnout, and I pulled over and put it in park. And I opened up the door, and I had him in my arms, my dog. And I went around, and I'm looking in the bed of the truck, and as I'm walking towards the bed of the truck, my dog is even shaking more, right? And he's just looking at something that I don't know. And so then I'm like going, well, okay, obviously you can see or sense something here. And I felt it. I felt the truck go boom, kind of thump. And so get back in the car, and I'm calling out for Archangel Michael. I was like, all right, Archangel Michael, it's something happening right now. I really need your protection. And by the time we got closer to Albany, my dog has settled down, but he still wouldn't go to the back. And he would only go to the seat next to me, the passenger seat. And he'd lay there, but he would look like there was something in the back seat. And then I was praying for Michael and God, and Gabriel, all them, just like, what's going on? Because I don't know what's going on. Okay, so now, I don't know, move forward a couple of weeks or whatever. I'm at the park, Timberland Park, and I back up to the lake area right there. And there's like these square little wooden posts along the edge there, right? So people can sit on them or whatever, but it's kind of a barrier to keep you from going near the river or whatever, lake, or driving too close. It's part of the parking lot thing. And I backed up, so it's I can look in the rearview mirror and see like the pond and stuff and people walking by on the sidewalk. And there was an Arabian guy that had one of those I don't know what to call them up there, but you know what I'm talking about. And he had a little boy with him. Now, before I talk about where they went, they were sitting on the two stumps. Out of all the stumps around, I can see out of my driver's side rearview mirror, he was sitting on one of the stumps. It was kind of like he was watching me, because I was sitting here writing down my dreams and my thoughts and stuff. And out of my passenger's window, I can see the little boy like looking underneath my truck. And I'm like going, what is going on? Well, let me jump up ahead, because I have noticed this guy and this little boy for about 2 weeks, because I do my walk over at Timberland Park. I walk when it's out sunny and stuff. Go down one, and then I come back. Well, when I was going down, I noticed him sitting in the grass with this child, and the child's usually playing with a tree or whatever, but he is just sitting there, and I noticed him walking by, and I'm like, and I caught a glimpse at him. I'm like, well, that's unusual for around here, because we do have Arabians around here that own some small stores and stuff, but there's very few that wear the turban thing on their head. They just don't wear them here. There's only a few of them, right? And they don't ever have a little child with them, especially the men. They have like families and stuff like we do here, that I've noticed. And so I thought, well, there's something weird about this. So anyway, getting back to the parking lot, I'm sitting here and I see him there and I see the child there. And I'm like thinking, what is going on? So I lean up like this. Of course, I'm moving the car, and I'm looking at him like, what's going on? And then I look over here, and the next thing you know, they get up. They both get up and start walking towards into the park area. And I'm looking at them, like following them, going, that is bizarre. I was like thinking, oh my goodness. I remember him staring at me when I was doing my walks, how he was always there. Everywhere I was going, it seemed like he was always there, him and that child. I just had an uncomfortable feeling. But I'll tell you one thing: when they were walking away, I was asking Archangel Michael. I was like, "Oh, I need you, Archangel Michael." I'm not sure. They just look. Why would they sit right behind by my bumper, and why is this little kid looking around like my wheel well and my bumper? Um, so I'm thinking this as I'm in my car because now I'm kind of freaked out about moving my car. What's going on? Um, and then next thing you know, as soon as it got probably, I don't know, about 20 feet away, I I feel this thump in the bed of my truck, and then it's like when you take a jump. So it's like something thumped in the back of my bed of my truck, and then it's like they jumped out, and I was sitting there thinking, "Whoa, was that you, Archangel Michael?" I was, and then it flashed back, a few weeks before that when that same feeling. And remember, I was telling you about those big wings where I thought it was a plane, and my dog, that coming home, that same thump into the back of my truck kind of feeling. And then I was like going, "Oh, that feels like the same. That's the same thing." And then as I'm sitting here kind of praying and talking to God, I was getting like this thought process going through my mind as a tracker, and I was like, so I'm speaking out loud now because I'm hearing it in my thoughts. I'm like, a tracker? Is that a tracker on me? But I'll tell you one thing: I've not seen them, that older man and that child, ever since then. Ever since that incident right there, I've not seen him at the park anymore. I've not seen him anywhere around town. Um, and that happened back in 2020. So the last 5 years, I haven't seen him at all. And I just think that I knew that has something had to do with something. And then, of course, I've got all these images, and I don't know, it was just really wild. But I wanted to share that experience with you of how I felt something jump in the back of my truck, and I seen something with obviously big wings come flying. And then, of course, our mind goes to like, "Oh, what's that?" But my dog shaking is kind of normal in a way, because my little Peanut, he's uh, a daddy's boy, and there's not very many men that get along with him, except for my little brother. But all my other brothers, and then my cousin, that dog freaks out. He just shakes. My nephew was like, "Oh, here, let me pick you up." And I tell you what, he was shaking so bad that he just poo-pooed all over him. And he's like, "Oh, you can take your dog back." And I was just like, he does that. I said, he gets really nervous and scared when somebody, I don't know if he picks up on their energy, but I said, your dad can pick him up, because that was his son. I go, your dad can pick him up, and talk to him and stuff like that. I can do it, but nobody else can do it. There's nobody else that I've been around that, well, besides the vet and stuff like that, but they're still a little shaky when they go in there, of course. Like, "Oh, no, you're taking me to the vet." But anyway, so I just wanted to bring that out there, to where this world, that, there's things that happen to people. There's things that happen to us in our life. I remember, I might have told you, I'm not sure, but when I was 19 years old, I was coming home around, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, of a night partying. And, but I wasn't drinking. I stopped drinking at about 11. So I was just pretty much at the people's friend's house, just socializing stuff. We were drinking coffee. Talking too much. Um, and when I was coming home, I was probably like 10 miles away from my house. All of a sudden, I kind of just fell asleep. And right when I was falling asleep, I hear this loud voice in my left ear that says, "Casey," and I opened up my eyes, and all I remember is going right towards these mailboxes, and then everything just went completely white, bright white, and then all of a sudden it's kind of like I blacked out, and then all of a sudden I'm sitting in the car seat like this because I'm in my flip flops, my shorts, and a tank top. It's my brother's car too. It was a Ford Falcon, and I wiped out all the the mailboxes, big chunk of the fence, a wooden fence, even big wooden bikes, and just wiped it out. I went through the ditch, and I landed. Every window was shattered out of the car. I couldn't even open up the door. We're down there, and the neighbor that was across the way, there was the houses, right? She comes running out, and she goes, "Oh, Casey!" It was she was in the same grade as my brother, my older brother. Um, and then her sister Heidi was in. I was best friends with her during high school, kind of like thing. So I knew who she was. She's like, "Oh, Casey, oh my God, oh my goodness!" And she comes over the car. She goes, "Oh my goodness, you're in just a tank top and shorts. Are you okay?" And so anyway, I crawl out the window, and I'm standing there, and she's looking at me all over. She's really frantic. She's looking at my hair. She's looking at my neck. She's looking at my. She's like, "There's not even a scratch on you." And I remember telling her, I was like, "I know, isn't that bizarre?" I said, "I remember right when I was blacking out or falling asleep, somebody yelled my name, Casey, in this bright light, and then I eventually come to a stop apparently, and then all of a sudden I'm coming to." I said, "That's all I remember." And she goes, "Oh, you must have had a guardian angel for sure." I said, "Something happened." And then the sheriff come because she'd already called the police, 911. So the sheriff come, he was closer coming from the countryside. And he looks at me, and he's looking at the car. He goes, "Oh boy, you must have had a guardian angel. That car is totaled." He goes, "And look at the damage you did." He goes, "You fell asleep at the wheel, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Stand behind me because the city cops are coming." He goes, "I'll just deal with the city cops myself." So he goes over, and as soon as the city cops come, right, they come whooping out there. Woo, woo, woo. He goes over to him, and he talks to a couple of them. Then he walks back over to me. He goes, "Get in the truck." He goes, "Get in the front seat of the car." He goes, "I'll take you home." He goes, I'm off work anyway, and I live out there by where you're going," because he kind of knows the family, my brothers and stuff, but he knows them by relatives or whatever, not through criminal things. And I didn't know who he was, and I'm just like, "Oh, okay." So I get in the front seat of his car, and we're going out there, and he's just like, he goes, "A lot of people fall asleep at the wheel. Don't worry about it." He goes, "But I'll let those city cops, they're going to ask a lot of questions, get all nosy and personal." He goes, "We don't need that. We need to just get you home." He goes, You're already a miracle that you didn't even get." He goes, "But you may have a concussion." And then, so he took me to my house, my parents' house. He even walked me to the door, made sure I got in. And so kind of interesting. Then he left. But I remember that. I was just like thinking, wow, what a trip. But anyway, I wanted to share that because I think it's very important that we share our life experiences. Because I remember when I was in that meeting back in Arizona, when that medium said that a little birdie had delivered a message from God, and now I understand that about life experiences. It's everything. It's like even that experience right there. So I may not be like the rest that come and say, "Oh, I got a message from God to you, to the people," because I think that has that right there. I don't know. I just don't know. And I'm not going to say any more about it because, like I said before, everything that's happened in my life and my relationship with God, has to do with my life experience, has to do with my soul purpose and what I'm here. It's like God is training my soul and experience, and realizing, observing all this stuff that's happened to me. So that's what I got to bring back to the church and the people. This is what I'm going through. So later, when I get home, I'll do a separate video showing the images on my face, and I'll do a darker contrast so it pulls them out a little bit more for you. Because I noticed the video I put up of my eyes here lately, there's like 30 people has watched that and there's no comments. But nobody ever comments when they see these images. And I don't know if it's because I'm scaring them, because I know two or three people unsubscribed after I put that video up. So I can only imagine that they're probably freaking out going, what is going on? Why you have those images coming out in your eyes and stuff? But like I said, when I was at God's feet and then when he touched me and I lit up like a light bulb, I do believe that God poured his spirit out on me. And so that means obviously there's going to be something affecting my DNA. And that's the difference between having a personal relationship with God or having a personal relationship with your pastor at a church. You can either look at your body as the true church of God, where God's in, the breath of God, or you can go to the church on the land and feed that box. Bless everybody. I hope everybody does well. But this is my life experience. This is what's been happening to me. My visions of waking up in the bathtub, the royal bathtub, being at God's feet, being protected at certain times in my life, especially from incidents like that. Having an encounter here recently from certain other, I should say, country like people that seem to find me interesting for somehow or some way. But we all have a purpose here, and we're all playing a part on this world stage. I guess we just have to find ourselves and realize what our purpose is.